Welcome back, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest tonight is a national correspondent for Time magazine whose new book is called The Ones We've Been Waiting For. Well, wait no further. Please welcome Charlotte Alter. Now, the name of the book, we got it right here, as I said before, is The Ones We've Been Waiting For. And it's, correct me if I'm wrong here, it's about the leaders of the millennial generation that have emerged in our politics. You've been covering, politics for Time magazine. You've written a bunch of covers. You're only 30 years old yourself. You're one of those young people who's come to replace all of us oldies right now.
Not you.
Not me? No?
No.
Who made the cut of the ones we've been waiting for in the millennial generation? How did you choose the people who are in this book?
So I was specifically looking for elected leaders who were born between 1981 and 1996.
And is that millennials?
Yes, that's millennials, whose lives had intersected in some fundamental way with the major historical events of that time. So I was looking for people who had served in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, or who had been impacted by the financial crisis, or who had experienced crushing student debt, or who had participated in Black Lives Matter or Occupy, because the point of this book is to show how those forces have shaped the lives of the people who are going to be in charge in our future.
And not just Democrats, but there's Democrats and Republicans in this book.
Democrats and Republicans. I mean, millennials do lean to the left. They voted for Democrats by roughly 2-1 in the most recent midterms, but there are millennial Republicans, and this book includes 3 of them.
What title come from? What's that a reference to?
So it comes from a 2008 speech by Barack Obama where he said, "We are the ones we've been waiting for." And in a lot of ways, this book is about Obama's legacy. It's about how his presidency inspired the young people who helped make him president and how they're taking the lessons of his presidency into the future, including some of his shortcomings.
Okay, but if millennials are so inspired by Barack Obama, then how come millennials don't vote more?
It's a great question. In some ways, it's...
Thank you. They're applauding my question now.
Yeah. Well, in some ways, Obama's presidency was almost a victim of its own success because he was so transformative for so many young people, and many millennials cast their first presidential vote for him. And so it set this standard of people not feeling like they really wanted to vote for somebody who they didn't truly love or truly believe in. And Obama maybe inadvertently made voting into something that you do out of love, not out of duty. And that's why it's really hard for many young people to kind of get themselves excited about voting for someone they don't feel like really represents them.
Okay, so that brings me to say like our debate last night, or for lack of a better word, Bernie. Because there's a millennial here, because young people, millennials, overwhelmingly, like 60% for Bernie. Why do millennials like the Altacocker? Why do they like the old guy?
So this book explains why. If you look at the events that have shaped their lives, and again, one of the things I found in reporting this book is that there's this myth that young people are always liberal and old people are always conservative, and it's just not true. In fact, people shape their political attitudes in response to the events of early adulthood, like their late teens through their 20s. And if you look at the events that shaped millennials' early adulthood, it was crushing student debt, the financial crisis, which really shaped a lot of their ability to find jobs that would provide them with things like, I don't know, health insurance. That's why millennials are half as likely to have employer-sponsored health insurance as their parents, which might mean that they were really attracted to somebody who wants something like Medicare for all. Millennials are one of the generations who know that they're going to have to deal with the impacts of climate change, which is why they seem to be really attracted to a candidate who is running on a Green New Deal. So if you look at all the events that have shaped how millennials think about politics, it actually makes a lot of sense why they would be going for somebody like Bernie Sanders.
You have a chapter here, your second chapter in the book is called Harry Potter and the Spawn of the Boomers. What's up with the millennials and Harry Potter? Because there's a lot of influence.
There's a lot of influence. So I first started noticing the scope of this influence when I interviewed the Parkland kids after the shooting in Parkland, Florida, the March for Our Lives teenagers. And I noticed that many of them, independently, brought up Harry Potter and were comparing their quest to defeat the NRA to Harry Potter and his friends' quest to defeat Voldemort. And as soon as I started seeing it, I noticed it was everywhere. It's all over Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Instagram. When Mick Mulvaney took over the CFPB, there was a group of resistors inside the agency who called themselves Dumbledore's Army. And you have to, in order to understand this, you have to realize that Harry Potter was an unprecedented cultural phenomenon. Literally unprecedented in human history. More people consumed Harry Potter in the time that it was being created than Dickens or Shakespeare or nearly any other great work of literature that you could possibly imagine. So it has fundamentally shaped how many of these young people see their role in the world and also see their responsibility in terms of what is good and what is evil. Harry Potter is a story about authoritarianism. It's a story about young people banding together to fight an authoritarian ruler who is enabled by feckless adults who don't want to stand up to him. And so, in some ways, it's really resonant to what we're seing right now.
Well, that story and this entire book gives me hope. So thank you for writing it. And I recommend it highly. It's the ones we've been waiting for. It's Charlotte Alter. We'll be right back.